Hey, everybody.
I was too busy watching it kind of adjust the camera. I didn't realize
Right.
it quite pushed on yet.
Well,
That's
I
what
had
we
to
were
push
doing.
it on first so
The
I
whole
could
point
go
of the
sit
little
down.
exercise.
That's right.
Well, we're going to sign on to our other devices right now to let everybody know that we are here today.
We are. What are y'all doing?
I guess this is kind of 2 weeks in a row, isn't it? Putting us back on track with our normal.
Well, actually, because we are not going to be here next week, which is when we would be doing this next. So
You don't know. We might do it.
we might do it from the road. That would be fun.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Vegas.
I see.
I was never really wanting to go, and now I'm like, yay!
Who are you going with?
My hot toddy.
Oh, that's true. We got a really moderately tamed fun time planned.
It's gonna be fun.
It's going to be fun.
It's not letting me type in your passcode. I was gonna share it to his page. So y'all, come on. We're talking about blended families tonight.
Do you
And,
have a blended family? A lot of people do.
It's very commonplace nowadays.
Very common. You know, we talked about this particular topic, and it's come up many times over the years, and I never really thought about it as being something that even applied to us.
I know.
And that's kind of
right?
what we're going to talk about. It doesn't even register with me that I might actually be part of a blended family. And other people, it's first and foremost in their minds, and other people had never even thought about it. And that's kind of the range that we're talking about
Right?
in this particular process. But
Kind of coming across here fuzzy.
are we fuzzy to you people? I don't look fuzzy.
No, it keeps coming and going. I don't know. We've had a hard time with our internet.
Yeah, we've got a...
So let's get back on track.
Connector
I'm
over
sorry
there.
I interrupted us. So
Anyway.
even if we're fuzzy, it doesn't matter because it's not about us. We're here to help other
Our
people.
discussion's
hopefully.
not fuzzy, that's for sure.
Nope. Nope.
Well, welcome to another What Really Matters. Today we're going to talk about, we just said, blended families.
And y'all come on, give me a comment, say hello. I want to know you're here. So we can say hi, talk to y'all.
And so you know who to address. I'm Todd, and that's Michelle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would love for y'all to give us reviews on our What Really Matters page. Share our videos. Our video from last week on friendship had over 2,000 views at this point, which is pretty cool.
Good. Starting to get
and
there.
so we're wanting to have, we're really kind of just wanting to be able to help others because, we did a lot of stupid stuff along the way. We did a lot of good stuff along the way. And I think it helps other people who might feel like they're all alone
Yeah.
in what they're going through, that they can see from somebody else that, oh, it's not as bad as I thought, or that kind of thing. So,
Yeah, I mean,
don't you agree? That's kind of what
Different things.
that's what we're about. So, anyway, you want to get started?
yeah, and most of the information that we have here, we've obviously researched it, and we have our own, and we bring our own experiences to that research. And I guess a lot of times we'll post where we get our information from after the show or whatever. But what you're hearing is real life, and I think it's applicable. Obviously, if it's a serious situation, we always advise that you go find a professional to help. But I think that we give real world advice that's there to give you the experience that we've had to help you with experiences, because they're not that unique. Everyone runs through these same things all the time. So,
And they're going to be biblically based.
Right.
Now, I can't tell you we always made the right Christian
No.
choices or decisions or right actions, because we didn't.
of course not.
But we did learn from them. And so everything we're going to give you is based on what we believe, is biblical.
Started off rough, got
as
better
well.
and better and better.
So, if you watch this and you're not a Christian, you can still apply what we're saying.
Sure.
Just don't leave the God part out. But, I don't know why you would leave the God part out, because
Right.
without Him, it's going to make life really, really tough.
Yeah,
So,
we've had people come to us and look at this particular information in a variety of different ways, and the most important thing is
God's
that
important. He's
these-
what really matters.
yeah, the God is where we found our focus, and these principles work every time you apply them. So, whether you're in or out of that boat, these principles work. we invite you in. We invite you to follow along and join us. Find a local church, pick up a Bible, and join us in our adventures here. Well, today we're talking about the blended family, and when we first got together, well, I guess we kind of blended right away, didn't we?
We did.
How'd that happen?
I was not a good Christian person.
That wasn't what I was asking. Let's just say we met and got married in a very short period of time, right? And I didn't give a whole lot of thought. Well, at first I did. I mean, I knew.
Okay, let's just back that card up.
At first
he
I
wouldn't
did.
even date me because I had a child. And
Right.
I was 22 and he was 27, and he was like, not gonna even, nope.
Nothing wrong with that if that's
No,
an issue.
there's really not.
Better
but-
to go into it saying that's not really what I'm after than the other way around. But I didn't exactly handle it very well. There's some funny stories. I'd be glad to tell some other time that go along with all that. Not too funny, but funny. Anyway, so we got together and we didn't really plan a lot of things. We did talk. We were together and
We did
Just like we are right now.
nothing
separately.
about what we're talking about tonight when we blended because
Right.
we didn't know to.
Didn't know.
And it was really
And we fell backwards into a number of the things and went, hey, that worked. What happened? And other things, of course, we're totally guilty of. So I mean,
well, and it really helped. Crystal was 4 when I met him.
who's Crystal?
My baby girl?
Yeah, that's right.
And she turned 5, and she was
Kristen.
5 when we got married. And when we got married, she came running up to him and said, "I love you, Daddy." And that was, and I had not ever called him Daddy or Dad or
No.
anything like that. It was always Todd because she had her own dad,
Right.
that was still in the picture.
Sure.
And so when she did that, it kind of
That's what
it
cemented
softened.
the whole thing.
I mean, if
actually.
it wasn't really for Crystal doing that, there was that took away all of the blending, if you will.
Right.
It took off the step parent, step child. It took off the things because she felt like she was comfortable enough with him to call him Dad, because we didn't to address that. But I mean, we've got 3 boys, and so she's got 3 half brothers. Well, we don't do that. She's
Never
got
even
3
thought about it.
brothers, and they have a sister. And there's never been titles.
There's never been a
like
half anything.
step anything
People
or
ask
whatever.
me sometimes-
Now she will say things like, "This is the cute stuff," because it's like Daddy here and Daddy there.
Yeah.
Or my dad. Well,
Well,
this dad. Those kinds
Well,
of
you
things.
gotta clarify.
Because she's got to clarify which dad it is.
Yeah.
But so it's kind of nice instead of So sometimes now, especially as an adult, when I'm talking with her, we clarify and it's Todd or Brian or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But so those are the things that starting off, I want to go into a couple of things. I know we've kind of run through this paragraph really quick, but one of the things we made sure that we tried hard not to do, and that was to talk about the other family. You know what I'm saying? Like there's this nucleus, and then
No.
she has her dad and his family. Now, were we perfect at that? Probably not. But he was a good dad, so there was no a reason
Plus,
for me to be.
We had it a little bit easier because they were even out of state, so that
Yeah.
really kind of helped separate matters very well. If they
But
were
it's
in town,
still-
we would have been met with a number of challenges that we would have had to have dealt with that we didn't ordinarily have to do with. So we were kind of
Well,
not like most.
we kind of blended to the point where, like when Crystal graduated high school, Brian and his mom came and stayed at our house. We didn't have them get a hotel room or anything.
Right.
Our boys called him Uncle Brian, and her Nana and her papa or papa
Yeah.
would come with his semi, and the boys would get on it. So I mean, it was just really kind of, we tried to kind of make that transition a smooth one. You know what I mean? So I'm going to tell you two things I wished I'd done different, and then we have what we're going to talk about on what we have learned and what we believe blended families should do. Why are you laughing?
I was remembering a few things we don't have in here, but I'll
But
leave
well,
them
we
for
can
you.
bring them out. No, that's the whole point. We don't have to go over what we have because we've learned so much that we can talk from experience.
So you're gonna do yours now?
You can
I'll
do yours
forget
if you
mine,
want.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I know that when we first got together, one of the things that we did guard about and we did think about, but we may not have necessarily thought it through the right way, was the idea of when you are blending families and going back to the initial relationship, be careful who you bring into your family to meet with your kids.
Oh yeah.
When you're dating somebody or when you're involved with somebody,
Yeah.
your children shouldn't be part of your dating exercises. Your children
Right.
should be part of the marriage portion. Be careful who has contact with your kids and ties your children have with people who you may or may not plan on spending the rest of your life with. That is a very important feature. You can
Well,
destroy
that's kind of
children.
one of our paragraphs further down here. Is there's
Yeah.
too many changes at once will unsettle children. So
Yeah.
if you're already getting a divorce and then you're doing a bunch of dating and then you decide you're going to get married right away, that's way too much for your children to go through at one time.
Yeah, your children
there needs
don't
to be
date.
some healing that goes along the way. But in between, besides yourself needing healing emotionally and
Right.
spiritually, probably, and physically through the whole process. So that's kind of part of that as well.
Yeah, we recognize it's not a perfect world, and sometimes these things have to be worked out, and that's what we're talking about. Some of these issues. So, what was your next topic?
Okay,
you're
so
gonna bring?
two things that I did that I would go back and
Yep.
change, and I always keep saying I wouldn't change anything. Because I've earned every second of my age, right? I wouldn't
Sure.
go back and change anything at all. And people are like, how do you not have regrets? I really don't have regrets. I didn't live a perfect life, and there's things I wished I hadn't done. But I am who I am because of those things. So these two things, however, I
like
kind
who
of
you are.
wish. Thanks. I kind of wish I could. This part I could go back and do differently.
What's
So
that?
when I got a divorce, I married at 16 and divorced at 19, and then married you at 23, 22. And so when I left him and got the divorce, I didn't want his name, but I didn't think about the repercussions for my daughter, even though she was just 2. It really didn't affect her till later on that she realized she didn't have the same last name as me. But that's after I married him. So I went from, my married name to my maiden name to a new married name. But when we started having kids, when we first got married, it didn't make a difference to her that she had a different last name because it's just us and I took your name.
When other
But
children came
when other
along.
kids started coming along, I have 3 boys but it really didn't. So when Quentin was born, the oldest boy was born, now it's a family of Wyatts, but she didn't have a name. So I wished I had done her name, my first married name, and hyphenated with my new name, because I think that would have kept her from having some emotional.
Yeah, she felt separate.
Yeah, because at school she kept trying to write her Wyatt as her last name at school, and the
Teachers are confused.
Teachers were confused. They didn't want
What's
her to write
going
the
on?
name because it wasn't her name. But if I had done what I've seen some ladies do now, and that's hyphenate the 2 names, or had kept her name, she would have not. So
Right.
that's one of the things
Yeah,
I
what do
wish
you know
I
at
had fixed.
23? I mean, come
Right.
on.
I mean, I could go back and do it again, but I can't. And then the second one is we've learned a lot about communicating, which I wish we had known back then
Of
as
course.
well. And all of this is really going to pertain to Crystal because we learned a lot of how to communicate and do things.
Sorry, Crystal, we learned a lot on you.
Along the way. But so when she was about 14, we had some rough spots. Teenagers, you always have rough spots with all of our kids as teenagers, especially at 16, man. Let me tell you, there's something about a 16-year-old. Every one of them. Every one of them. And there's one over there giving me a stink eye about it. But anyway, so when she was about 14 or so, we got into, I don't know, some kind of a tiff, an argument. And,
No
and
kidding.
it was pretty heated. And this is one of those times where she's like, I want to go live with my dad. And she really didn't do that, but
Not very
probably
often,
the one
yeah.
time, because she just didn't. But that time she did. I apparently ticked her off enough that she said, I'm done. I want to go live with Dad. So my response, instead of saying, well, let's talk about what's bothering you and let's listen and let's discuss things and let me hear what you're really saying and all the things that we've learned since then.
Becomes the authoritarian.
I said, pack your bags. I'll call him and tell him to buy a plane ticket. And, that probably didn't make her feel really good about herself at that point because I was like ready to send her off. But the reality is she didn't really want to go live out there, and I really didn't want her to go live out there. But because it was a heated and we weren't really communicating properly, we had that little battle. Now, she never did go live with him.
I can tell
you now.
It shut it down. But
Well,
that may not be the result you want. After you do that, you need to follow that up with
I'm telling you
discussion.
not to do that and to sit down and listen to your child and let them, because there's a lot of communication techniques that we have learned since then. So if she sat down and was talking to me today, I would be able to go, okay, this is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah.
So, because I might not be understanding it. So when you've got teenagers involved, it's a different ball game.
I have no idea what's in your head.
Right.
Not a clue.
So even with kids.
I understand the words you're telling me, but I don't have context to go with it.
Okay, so those are the couple of personal things. Now we're just going to get into things we've learned along the way.
Yeah.
Some of this is from Focus on the Family. Some of this is things that we just know.
Yeah.
And some of this you can apply to families, whether it's blended or not. It doesn't have to be a blended family.
No, not at all. You have
so,
kids, you have a family. This works.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So marriage is the priority in a family. It's number one. Technically, it's not. God is number one.
That's right. Number
God
one
is
is
number
always
one.
God.
And if he's not number one,
always-
then you have a problem.
We always assume that. We
assume you're putting God
number
first.
one,
God goes first. But even when you're blending, it cannot be your children next. And so many parents want their children taken care of. Or even if it's the dad who gets them on the weekend or the mom, because you never know, when you have them on the weekend, they cannot be your priority over your spouse. Even if you're just a weekend parent, you still have to put the spouse first. That doesn't mean you're going to ignore those children, though.
No, not at all.
Because y'all are going to have planned, and that's what we're going to get into.
Doing that with the children are placed above a spouse sets off a terrible paradigm of
which we'll get into as we go.
authority struggle that you are supporting when you do that.
Okay, so I've got marriage as priority, God first, then your spouse, then your children.
Yep, and following that, guess what?
Then your job and then your ministries.
You may very well be way more set in your ways than you ever dreamed about.
Yes.
You don't think about it when you're on your own or when you're in a small unit or it's just the two of you. But when you bring in another child or two or three, all of a sudden you've got a group. You got a group dynamic, and you realize, wow, I'm not doing that, or I won't do that, or these are unacceptable things to you. And you got to learn right away. You learn, hey, you know what? This is what they've been talking about in marriage and in family. It requires compromise. It requires communication, but you don't really realize it.
Do you remember anything that you felt like you had to give up when you moved in with me and I had a child?
You know, I hear people say a lot of things about this, that, and the other thing, and trust me, guys, I'm as selfish as they come. No doubt about it. I'm amazed at things that people are saying I won't do or whatever, and I'm like, I guess we kind of came in, the one thing that we did do, it was us. It was an us paradigm. When Crystal finally said, I love you, Daddy, or whatever the exact
right
phrase
after
was,
we got married,
that set a platform that was, it's us. It wasn't you and me and, oh, that kid over there. It was us.
Right.
And we treated everything as us, and that was the paradigm that we just established from there on out. So, no, I don't really think of any, I didn't miss going out with guys. I didn't miss not doing different things. I didn't dislike things that you were doing that imposed themselves. I just don't remember anything like that.
Well, now, part of that, too, was because I waited on you hand and foot.
That's always nice.
And I took care of you.
Not everybody's going to get that.
I took care of you, so you were spoiled, and I think that helped a lot.
It helped me.
Yeah,
Kept me happy.
Me.
Yeah.
So
took advantage of it, I'm sure.
The next one is, and this is a big one. This is a big one, and I've watched so many couples go through this, and to be honest with you, I did it, and it really caused some major marital issues for the first 3 years, maybe. Seriously, it was bad, guys. I'm telling you, I was crazy. So crazy.
What are you talking about?
Do not compare your current marriage or your spouse. Don't hold them. You can't compare the relationship with whether it's your marriage, your family life, a new boyfriend, whatever. But we are talking about marriage and blended families right now. So
Pretty much.
I had a real problem with, because I had a bad first marriage. And this is not dissing him here.
Yeah,
this is just saying
it's just what it
we
was.
got a divorce because it was not a good marriage. That's all there is to it.
Everyone's moved on since then.
So nice guy, all that good stuff. But I put him in a place to where I held him.
Expectations of me
I
failing
held
you.
him accountable for the sins of the first one. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so he was placed in a bad situation, and I kept, I actually did keep saying divorce and those things, and he was like, divorce is not an option. So if it wasn't for him saying divorce is not an option, we probably would have gotten a divorce, because I was crazy. Seriously, crazy.
No, I can't think of it as two different times when I actually sat there and told myself my own words.
You cannot compare your relationship to the one previously.
And those are good things as well as bad things. You can't say, well, you're not as good as so-and-so,
right.
or
well, that's
he
what I
did
was
this,
going
so
to get
you're
you
going
next,
to do this
because
to me.
there are some instances where maybe the husbands and wives, that their spouses, maybe they didn't divorce a spouse, maybe the spouse passed away,
right?
And so now they're married to somebody new, and they're constantly comparing the new one to the one that passed away, because the one that passed away is always going to be held in high regard,
right.
And so
it comes fairly natural to do that.
It's really hard for the new one to fill those shoes if you're constantly doing it. So you cannot hold your current relationship bound by the previous relationship, no matter whether it was a good one or a bad one, whether it was a divorce or it just ended or someone passed away. All of the stuff, the person you're with, you have to, your relationship, you are going to be focusing on him or her. He needs to focus on me, and not hold him accountable for previous things that somebody else may or may. And you hear women say a lot of times, no man is going to tell me what to do, right? Right, ladies? I mean, if you've had a guy who was a jerk, that's one of the things that the ladies say. I said it a lot. And what it caused
That's kind
problems,
of an example of what we're talking about.
Well, and it caused
it's an
problems
offshoot.
because I chose to lead, because there was not going to be anybody telling me what to do, which is against the biblical standards.
Right.
And so we went through a time where that was rocky. And then when I decided, I'll be submissive now, and he didn't know what to do because he hadn't been allowed to lead yet, seriously. And then when you start making that transition, when you do that comparing, it's really, really detrimental to your relationship.
Point being, specifically to this particular topic, this one right here is really challenging, because it just comes natural in your psyche to do those things. You have to make a mental and physical point in your life to change those habits.
Yes.
They're natural habits.
Yes. And I don't even know what made me go from being crazy to not being crazy. There was just a time limit or something that he had been around and he hadn't left or something. I don't know. But
immortal words of Steve Urkel. I wore you down.
You did. You wore me down, baby. And I realized it was all going to be okay.
Steve Urkel.
So don't be jealous of the ex and their new family. If you're the one on the outside and they have a whole new family, be happy. Show love and respect.
Yep.
Be happy for them. I mean, I'm not happy that you're in a situation where you got a divorce to start with. But the reality is, if that's already happened, you can't be jealous and you can't be petty. Your kids are going to see that, and you need to be lifting up the other family, so to speak, because it's still your kids that's going to be involved with that family. And when you get the kids, you want them to see a good side of you, and a happy side of you as well. So don't let jealousy and pettiness and things get involved. And then we are going to talk
I'll put them back on. We're also going to talk about, when you come into a relationship, and there's a child, 2, whatever. Like I said, we had that unique situation where Crystal kind of set the stage by saying she immediately claimed family. Not every kid's going to do that. Some kids are going to be like, hey, we're a family. I don't know about this guy or this girl. And you have to work your way through that. It takes time. You can't just expect that child to accept you as just like the mom did. You have to earn that respect. You have to earn that relationship. You have to put in the time. Sometimes it's gifted to you very quickly. Other times you have to work for it, and it may take years. Now, I'm not talking about where they're like, well, I'm not, that you need to work on right away and kind of get that through. But emotionally, safeguarding, depending on what kind of damages were done during the prior marriage and the divorce, as well as when there was separation, the child's going to have a natural guard up. So whenever you are building that relationship, you have to build a real relationship, not a phony one. It's got to be one based, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, that's based on a reality of the way you're going to live together. You can't pop all kinds of things onto them to buy their love.
Something I was going to say, and I can't remember. Oh, one of the things I was going to say is while he's building this relationship with Crystal, he's helping me. It was really quite funny because, like I said, Crystal was 5, and I was still helping her with her bath and washing her hair and all that.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And you still should, but he came along and gave a different perspective and let me know she's much more mature and older than what you're giving her credit. Quit babying her. So Crystal kind of did go to him because of that, because there wasn't any babying by him. He was just taking on this kid. And so there was a lot of changes that kind of came with the parenting. And we're going to get to parenting here in a minute.
I didn't know nothing about birth and no baby.
We didn't know to plan out. You know what I'm saying? We didn't do this the way we're going to get into here with the parenting, where you discuss it and you plan it and you make certain rules and you support each other and you do all these things. We just kind of started, well, technically we just started living together and then got married 6 months later. And that's not the way to do things. And I'm here to tell you, we did it so ungodly and wrong, but it worked out.
But if you did do it, you could be married 29 years even still.
We've been married 29 years.
We had to overcome a lot in order to do it.
Mercy and grace.
Yep. So
okay, so you're still on this. You're going to this one next.
Now this one.
Oh, this one, yeah. Yeah.
Now,
this goes in with him telling me what I should or shouldn't be doing with my child.
Obviously, when you come in and you see the relationship with the parent and child, you may have a comment about how that interaction's taking place, or even with you and that child. The new perspective she's talking about. So as you say, hey, that kid's more than old enough to wash their own hair, or something like that. If you take that, can be taken very defensively and establish that us and them are, hey, this is my blood, you're not, I'll make decisions for her, you stay over there. Wrong. These discussions need to have been, they're going to crop up on you. You might not know about them, and you talk about them later, but you talk about them immediately and get them worked out. Obviously, if you can talk about them ahead of time, you'd be
and the parent of the child needs to not take everything so defensively, because that's exactly, especially moms. Dads aren't so bad about it.
Why would I be telling you that if it wasn't for the benefit of everybody in the family? It's not like I want this done this way for just me. But at the same time, we want to protect our children. Right. We're the mommy birds, and we're going to, mama bears, whatever you want to be. And you're going to make sure whoever's saying something about your kid is going to be taken out, because that's what we do. Yeah, well, guess what? And that guy that's saying it is part of you now. So that's coming within the family unit. You receive that information, and you work out a compromise with it. You do not take that as a threat to your authority, because your authority is now shared. Yep. And you have to approach it that way. Otherwise, you run into a paradigm where this child recognizes you've got kind of authority, you don't, and guess what? You've just created a terrible situation that's confusing to the child and hazardous to the entire relationship between the parents and the children, and each, especially the one that's not of the bloodline, which all this is really weird to me talking, because I've never even thought about it any other way. But we realized looking back, that's kind of how we did it.
It's my turn.
Yep, it's your turn. This one's
Oh,
good.
wait. No, it's this one.
You just
Okay,
kinda
you
jumped
have to
onto this
be-
earlier 'cause-
You have to be more. Well, the one you're not seeing what I'm talking about right
Yeah.
now. So one of the things you have to really realize is there's a lot of mercy and grace, and there's a scripture I'm going to read to you real quick. As soon as I pull it up.
Maybe not.
Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, it always trusts, it always hopes, it always perseveres. Love never fails. 1 Corinthians 13:4-8. Okay, so can you imagine applying that to a family? Because we usually can apply that going to church, going to work,
Right.
going to the grocery store, and at home we all attack each other like, right? I'm dead serious. Don't tell me y'all don't do it too, because you do. Everybody does. You do.
Oh, I'm much faster to attack
lose
somebody
it-
in here because
you lose it more with your at-home family than
Yep,
you do
you do.
out anywhere else.
I set higher expectations to those
you
closest
do, which
to me.
we're going to get to
And
expectations
when those
in a minute.
expectations are failed, oh,
Okay, so, but the whole point is, we should be showing love and mercy and grace. And when you have
Yes.
a blended family, and they have to take time to get to know each other, siblings that only get to see each other. Step siblings. I hate the word step.
It's
You know,
terrible.
because they only get to see each other every other weekend or whatever.
Right.
They don't really have time. So there's a sibling rivalry. They need to get to know each other. There's issues. But if the parents can teach the mercy and the grace and the love and the forgiveness, those kids will take it and there'll be a lot more peace in the house. But if we lose it at home, and we do,
of course we do.
then that's what the kids are going to learn, and that's what they're going to, so they're going to, and you're going to have chaos, and
Okay,
so
great.
you don't
So
want that.
We just said everybody's going to lose it at home. The whole goal of this thing is to make them
try
happen
not
less
to lose
and
it.
less
Yeah.
and less. We recognize people are flawed. We have bad, good days. We're
Right.
talking about recognizing
about
this
all
and
the
establishing,
time.
wow, that's twice this week we've had this situation.
Yes, and let's
we need
discuss
to figure
why.
out what's going on.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So we've already kind of talked about number 8.
Yeah, we did.
Don't talk about the spouse, the ex-family members, whatever, in a negative light to your children. That is still the parent of your children.
Yep.
And even if they may have done you wrong, they probably haven't done the child wrong. And even if they've done the child wrong, it is not your place to point that out to them. They will recognize it. They will see it. You just pray for protection over the children, for their eyes to be open, and you show respect, and you still show love, and you just keep moving forward. And trust me, I understand when you leave somebody who was just a bad person, we'll just go with that, you know, that did a lot of things, it's still okay for you to treat them with respect. You do not have to lower yourself.
With every word of disdain that you cast towards that other partner, you lessen your authority in the eye of the child. You are actually lowering yourself, not just the other person, when you do it, because they recognize the control that this individual has over you and the lack of control
Right.
you have over yourself.
Right.
So they don't understand that the way I just said it, but they understand that concept over the years is very clear to them. Oh, I understand. This is a place, and they naturally exploit it. It's a very bad parameter to set. Now, when we get to back to that relationship with the step, which they're not. They're part. This is just the child of the new family. You got to make it a real family. You can't bring the kids together. You can't bring the family together like
Right.
you had said. You can't go to, amusement
Are you doing
park.
number 9?
I'm doing number 9.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Find ways to
I
experience.
was a little distracted.
Find ways to experience real life, not
Yeah.
imaginary stuff, not amusement park stuff, not Candyland, not ice cream
Well,
parlors. You can do
because-
those things, but you need time, full immersion in a real situation.
Because when
where
you're blending your
experiencing real
families,
family.
what usually happens, especially in a social media freaking world, everybody's got to be happy all the time.
The perfect fake world.
The perfect fake world. And so it's a constant, we're going to go to the amusement park, we're going to go to the zoo, we're going to go do this, we're going to do this. And those kids never have time to even get to know each other.
Right.
And you can't really blend because you're too busy fake happying for the social media.
It's probably way easier
And-
to learn to blend when you're bored out of your mind. It forces an encounter.
Well, schedule, have game times, watch a movie as a family and then talk about it. But when you're trying to blend the families,
Yeah.
they need time to blend. It's fun to go do those things. I'm not saying don't go to the amusement parks, go to the zoos, but
Yeah.
but these kids are going to need time to get to know each other.
Yeah. You don't
And when
learn
you're
a whole lot of-
constantly going, they're not going to have a chance to just sit back and relax
Yeah.
and get to know each other. So, okay, so when we talked about a little bit before my segue
What is happening?
earlier.
None of that's written down here.
None of it. Not a thing. The next part that I was going to talk about, we've kind of brought up a little bit already, and that is we didn't do that part that I'm going to talk about now. And that is when you've divorced and you're getting remarried, or if you just have a child and you're getting married, maybe you weren't married before, but you have a new person, and now there's got to be set rules and structure for the family. So, when does the
Says
child...
who?
Well, structure. God, any psychiatrist, psychologist, counselor, parent, teacher.
I'm all in for chaos.
Scripture, yeah. If you don't want chaos, you want structure. So you need to set boundaries, and children need boundaries, and that is set bedtimes. And no food and drink after, if their bedtime is 8:30, 8 o'clock is when they get their last food and water. And if they come out there to go get something, and one of the parents is standing there and they're letting them do it, and the other parent's like, what's going on? You can't get into a fight in front of the kid, because then the kid knows they've got power over y'all. So you have to discuss this and set your structure.
Establish a protocol
ahead
for
of
these.
time.
You know it's going to happen.
And
you know it's going to happen.
cannot argue in front of the kids. You cannot, what is the word? Undermine. You cannot undermine the other parent.
Yep.
Even if it's the step parent, the whole point.
Step parents.
Yes, I hate that term. But you have to let them do what they're supposed to be doing. And you can't say things like, well, you're not the dad.
Oh my goodness, that would go down
Or
so bad.
you're not the mom. Or you can't tell them what to do. That's my child. None of that garbage can be happening,
Right.
Especially in front of the children. Because as soon as that happens, and it does,
Oh,
as
it
soon
will.
as that happens, that child knows they will win, and they will play you against each other.
But they won't when they know where the line is. You
Right.
have to establish
Yes.
the line,
Yes.
and there's lines for a variety of different things. You may be
Right.
more liberal in these areas and allow certain things there, but way more strict on these other issues. They need to know that. They need to understand it, and they need to be applied to them consistently as possible. People are not really great at consistency, but you need to strive to constantly make those things and make adjustments. Obviously, you're going to slip up, but get back on it. The child needs to see that line's going to be held. You might have slipped,
Right.
but you're going to put that line right back and recognize that. These are important.
And the kids can do chores.
Well, you know what else we
And they
also
can
found?
put their stuff away, and they
Yes.
can be doing things, and that's going to be a whole nother what really matters topic, because
Yep, we're going to talk about the fact that
but I'm just telling you,
children yearn
To
for
do-
boundaries.
yes.
They yearn for
Yep.
discipline.
Yep.
They almost demand
Okay.
it in certain circumstances, and this is part of that in the sense that they feel it's like a warm embrace from a family when they actually feel like they're being protected and guarded by
right.
the family
Well, it was
unit.
almost like with us, with Crystal.
Yes.
Growing up, and we keep using her.
Well,
the
that's-
boys were a little bit different because we had learned a lot, But her personality was such that she really did need discipline. And if she wasn't getting discipline, she felt like she wasn't loved. And I don't mean discipline in a bad way.
No.
I just mean it was like she would do something
Like,
to
why don't
get
you care
grounded.
enough to
Right.
stop me from doing something I know is breaking the rules?
The boys
Don't you care?
did some of that, but not as much as her.
They did it for different reasons, but
And,
yeah.
and they all, trust me, all of them had their own stuff. Each one of them, totally different. But hers was definitely, she needed the structure. She needed and maybe it was because she was the one that was blended,
That was
if you will.
that was my whole
So-
point was going to be the reason why so much focus on hers, because the initial blending took place with her, and that's why we're talking about that initial period of time. After 5 years or so, like I said, as soon as she said,
I love you, Daddy, when we got married.
That was the point where it's like, we're family. This is it.
Yeah.
We're a family, and we
But
approached
it
everything from that
still
point
took-
on. Yeah, she could tell you
She
some
still
stories about
had
how I
to
failed on a variety of things regarding
well,
that.
we both failed,
But
so, I mean,
I would
kids fail,
say,
parents fail, everybody fails.
Yeah, and I recognize
But-
those things. And sorry, I mean, I wasn't very good at a variety of different things. Probably didn't spend enough time with her, like I had
But
mentioned
all
earlier.
of the artwork stuff you did with her.
Yeah.
You did
Right.
the mousetrap car and
Mousetrap car, those were so
you did
fun.
a few things.
Yep.
You did a lot of stuff.
Well,
So
guess what? Now that you've
let's get
set the
on to
rules,
this.
let's go to don't allow ultimatums. What are we talking
Right.
about specifically?
Well, you better make your child do this, or I am not going to stay with
It's
you.
me or them.
Yep. Nope.
It's
nope.
my way or the highway.
Then it's the highway.
That's going to require quite the interesting conversation
needs-
out of earshot of the child.
Well, because there has to be respect and boundaries set. So when we're talking about the structure and the boundaries,
It's not a
you
power
know
struggle.
what? Sometimes when it's in the process of the kids having to learn the new parent, step parent,
Sure.
living there, they may not like it and they may have issues.
Yeah,
but
well,
they
you're
have to be taught
Kind of an enigma.
that there's a respect. They have to speak to them with respect.
That's what
They
solves
can't yell and do, and the same thing with the step siblings, if you will, so that there has to be the respect for one another, and you can't allow the ultimatums to go back and forth of
Right.
choosing the child. First of all, it's not fair to the parent who's being put in the middle. It just causes chaos. And then the last topic, do you want to do this one or do you want me to do this one?
it. You had it circled, but
I know.
I can talk about one thing as to it. Limit your expectations. What are we talking about? I'll jump in. There's
Go
a
ahead,
variety of
'cause
different
I've
kind
got
of
a couple
expect.
ways I'm going to deal with limiting your expectations.
Well, obviously, one of the first ones that's very obvious that jumps out to me from this is expectations brought into the relationship from the past as to how the future shall be. Those kind of expectations are sure to cause great problems because the expectations are based on something other than the we unit. It's based on something out there. And those are expectations that when we were first married that were brought forward. Where'd you go? You're looking over there.
I'm thinking.
You know what I'm talking about? So those are the first things I think of in regards to any kind of blending that's taking place. Be careful of those expectations
Right.
of
and
what
you
they are.
can't
You can expect high things from things you've established.
No, I know, but I think it's also talking about you can't have such expectations. I mean, we know one family that the expectations are, well, I've done this, 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 and this. Why haven't they accepted me? Why haven't they loved me?
That was my second one, yeah.
Those kinds of expectations. It takes time, and over time that comes along. So limit your expectations in those things.
In that regards.
But you should
expect
have expectations
of respect and love.
and for what the children can accomplish and what they
Right,
can do and
right.
what you
Full
expect
potential.
from your spouse. Somebody used to say, well, if you just had lowered your expectations, you wouldn't be disappointed. And
I may have said that once or twice. It's still true.
bunch, and it drove me insane because it's not true. Well, I mean, technically it's true. If I lowered my expectations and I didn't want anything out of you as a husband, then I don't need you as a husband.
Right. What would you
So,
do?
I mean, that's where that goes. So you have to have some expectations. and you have to have expectations of your children and what they're going to accomplish.
Absolutely, you do.
But the only time you limit the expectations is while you're blending the families, while they're coming together. If you're expecting for everybody to just accept you and you're the new one in, it's going to take some time.
take
So
time.
lower them just a tad at
And
that
the other
point.
thing with expectations, these are the different types of expectations, is like you mentioned, that when you do something for somebody out of love and sometimes duty,
Yeah,
and sometimes
it should not be
sometimes
based
it's
on
just
what
out
you're
of
going to get out of it.
Sometimes you do it out of sacrifice. You cannot expect something in return for that, because you're supposed to be doing it out of love
Right.
and kindness.
Right.
Love doesn't expect that back. You're doing it in a one-way street. You're giving it out. You're letting it go. If you expect it to come back to you in some way, be careful, because those expectations are what are going to cause and fuel things inside of your head. Satan's going to take those things and have a heyday with you.
Yep.
And you're going to start down the wrong path.
Yep.
That's a whole process. We could do a whole show just on that.
Okay. So we've covered a lot of different areas.
I'm sure there's more, but
Oh, there is, but I think we've covered quite a bit on helping families that are blending.
it's not easy.
focus.
In fact, more blended families end in divorce for all the reasons we discussed here. If you don't pay attention to these details, the number one thing when you read about blended families is the fact that they run into these problems unwilling, and untooled.
Well, and I'm actually gonna give my ex-husband some props here for a minute, if
Go
you
ahead.
don't mind, because when we divorced, this is before you came along.
I wasn't around.
He made sure that he either sent money or gifts for Crystal to give to me for my Mother's Day and birthdays.
Yeah, he did well.
And things like that, because he knew that it was important and that she was a child that didn't have the ability. I mean, she was 2, 3, 4 years old.
Right.
Before you came along to be able to help cover those things. And he made sure, and he lived in Mississippi. He didn't even live here.
Right.
And he made sure that it was taken care of. And those small things for your children, they make a big difference, because they realize that, mom and dad might not be married, but they're making sure that I'm happy with my mom and dad, so there must be something okay. And it gives them a little bit of security. And
The fact that he was comfortable with your situation, but also comfortable and still has the relationship with her, that your relationship between the two of them was important to him, that's important to your kids.
Right.
Not a hostile one, a mutual one,
Right.
mutual and working one. I'm sure that definitely drives. That's one less thing for them to have to worry about. They don't talk about that on the playground.
They feel more secure.
Sure.
It's not a constant battle.
Right. It's
And
not
if
us and them.
If kids are constantly having a battle of divorced
just
parents,
is.
it's really difficult. So, but I think we are at the end. And if there's anything we missed, y'all let us know.
Sure.
And if y'all have any questions or need any prayer or have any prayer requests, then
Yeah.
let us know. We would love to pray for you and your family. We don't advertise it to anyone else out there. We just keep it private and pray.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a lot of prayer requests and a lot of praise reports from those. And so we are happy to be a part of that.
Sure. That's what we're doing it for, is to help.
We are trying to hopefully start helping some
And guess
families
what,
by
guys?
sharing our own garbage.
And guess what? Each week we grow. We grow because we learn the things, we don't just come here with just life stories. We also research to back up things that we're doing and make sure that these things are based on something biblical, as well as the psychology of it, as well as the family the family issues related to it. But we grow each week too, so we are constantly having to meet newer grounds, new higher grounds, so that we can meet your expectations.
And it's brought some rough
There's an expectation
waters.
for you.
It's brought some rough waters along the way.
Sure it is.
We've gone through some thick stuff
I
recently.
may have dented a pan the other day. I don't know. They're cheap. But we
need
learned
to
something
pray.
from it all. All right. Oh, it's yours.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, I
Okay.
wasn't even thinking. You told me, but I forgot.
Oh, it's my turn. You've prayed the last couple.
Did I?
times.
I don't remember.
Yes. Okay, so Father, I just thank you and I praise you for all of our friends and our family that's out there watching. And I ask right now, Lord, that you bring peace to those who may have gone through a divorce or lost a loved one that's brought together blended families. Lord, I pray for healing in their minds, bodies, and spirits, Father. I pray that there is unity in the families, even in the separated, divorced families, that as they blend together, Lord, that you would give them love for one another and peace and unity and strength and wisdom. Lord, there's so much when it comes to this. And I pray for the kids that are in the divorced families, that you would give them comfort and security, Lord. Let them feel you so that they know that there's a security around them. I just pray right now for families to turn to you and to put you first and to learn to love one another and bring peace to their homes. Lord, we pray that the family unity is brought back to being first, after you, of course, because we know you are first. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so that's our blended families one. And next week we are going to be at Vegas.
Vegas.
So we'll probably get on live at some point from Vegas just to say hey to everybody.
Why are you going to Vegas?
I've got a conference.
Yeah.
I got a
You're not going to
conference.
gamble?
No,
No, probably
but
not.
I am going to go see some shows, and I am going to, we are staying on the Strip, in a really nice hotel, so I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
I'm super, super excited.
We're driving up. We're going to see
and
some
I get
stuff
to
on the
see
way.
the Billy the Kid Museum.
Yes, you are.
That's my highlight. I'm so excited.
I know. It's probably this big on the side of the road, but
I don't
it'll
care.
be fun.
I love it. So y'all have
It's only 12 hours away to halfway there, so yay.
It's a long drive. It's gonna be fun.
24
I love
hours.
road trips.
Yeah.
I love road trips.
That's
So,
halfway there for 12 hours. Yeah.
yes.
All right, guess what, people? It's that time again.
Bye.
We'll see you next week. Or not. After that.